Welcome, traveler. You've come to a quiet stretch of desert where the sand rests in gentle layers and the air moves slowly across the dunes. There's no need to hurry here, no paths you have to follow, only soft light and warm stone, and the steady sound of wind tracing calm shapes across the world. Somewhere out there, a lone wanderer named Iren is walking, and beside him moves a gentle horse named Tallow. Not that they're lost, they're just simply letting the world unfold at its own pace. So set your pack down, let your thoughts feel light. The lanterns are already lit, and there's a warm place waiting just for you. Let's walk quietly for a while. The desert woke up in a gentle light. It began as a pale glow resting on the sand, a soft promise of morning. The dunes stretched out in neat, quiet waves, their surfaces warm and calm. Somewhere far off, a slow breeze moved like a careful hand brushing across a sleeping world. Iren walked alone, with steady steps and patient thoughts. Behind him walked his horse Tallow. Tallow's hooves made small, careful sounds against the sand. He wore a saddle, well fitted and worn smooth through many quiet journeys. A small bundle of supplies rested across his back. It never shifted much. Tallow liked things to stay where they were. Iren wore a light cloak that moved softly with the passing air. He held a plain compass in one hand, though he did not check it often. The desert felt familiar even when it was new. The sand was made of tiny, even grains that caught the light and held it. Small, dry bushes stood in tidy patches. A few tall pillars of stone rose up here and there, their surfaces warm and pale, their tops worn smooth by time. The sky took on a soft blue, painted in slow strokes from edge to edge. Iren and Tallow wandered. They passed a line of stones that looked carefully placed, half buried by drifting sand. Iren paused there. He brushed the top of one with his hand. The stone felt cool beneath the warm air. "This is a good place," he murmured. He placed his pack down. He loosened a strap and set out a few tools. A simple pick, a small shovel, a stack of neatly cut blocks he had gathered on earlier travels. Tallow lowered his head and breathed slowly. His ears flicked gently. He liked when the day began this way. Iren began to clear a small area of sand. He worked in careful, even motions. Each scoop lifted a clean, tidy layer. The ground below revealed firm, pale stone. It felt solid, friendly, ready to hold something new. He placed a few blocks to mark the corners of a resting spot. Simple, straight lines, no rush. The blocks clicked into place with a soft, settled sound. He laid out a small square floor, cool, light stone blocks that felt smooth beneath his fingertips. The air stayed calm. The sky softened. Far off, a few square clouds drifted slowly. They moved at their own pace, patient and steady. After a while, Iren unpacked a small chest. He set it gently at the edge of the stone floor. Inside were neat rows of items, a few lantern parts, a bundle of wooden sticks, a tiny stack of iron pieces, threads, soft cloth. Tallow watched. Iren smiled. He crafted. The lantern came together piece by piece. Metal frame, small glass panels, a tiny ember that glowed with a gentle, steady light. He hung it from a short post beside the floor. Even though the sun was still high, the lantern made the air feel softer. He placed a simple bed, pale wool, a wooden frame rubbed smooth by hand. He tested it with a slow press of his palm. It held firmly. The desert rested around them. As the day moved forward, the light turned warmer. The sand shifted in slow patterns as the breeze passed. Thin lines appeared and disappeared along the surface, like quiet drawings. Iren stood and looked out across the dunes. Something caught his eye, a shape, far away, low, square, a different color from the sand. He tightened the straps on the pack and climbed onto Tallow's back. Tallow stepped forward under the gentle pressure. His pace was calm and sure. They moved toward that shape. The sand felt soft beneath Tallow's hooves. The desert widened. The sky deepened in tone, inch by inch, as the sun drifted across its slow path. The shape grew clearer. It was a small stone building, half buried. Blocks of pale sandstone, fitted together in careful lines. The top was flat and clean. Iren slid down. He brushed the entrance clear of sand with his hands. Each grain moved aside easily. The doorway showed a small open room inside. The air within felt cool, clean, and quiet. Inside, there were item frames on the walls, empty but polished. There was a chest in the corner. There were a few lantern hooks hanging from the ceiling blocks, though the lanterns were long gone. Iren ran his fingers over the stone walls. They were smooth, friendly. They had been made by hands that cared. He opened the chest. Inside were small, simple things. A few seeds wrapped carefully in cloth, a tiny map drawn on rough paper, a polished piece of blue stone. He lifted the blue stone. It glowed faintly, not bright, just a soft inner light, like morning trapped inside a crystal. Tallow stepped in and sniffed the air. Iren laughed quietly. He carried the items back outside. He placed them gently in his own chest at the resting spot. He put the blue stone in an item frame he crafted from sticks and leather. He hung it inside the small stone building he had made earlier, so it can glow peacefully in the quiet space. The afternoon drifted on. He dug a small, careful line in the ground, a narrow channel. He placed a single water block at one end. The water flowed in a gentle, tidy way, stopping exactly where the channel ended. He planted the seeds along the edge, tiny green hope resting against the pale stone. Tallow stood nearby, tail flicking now and then. The sun leaned lower. The sky changed from pale blue to soft peach, then to a calm rose color. The shadows grew longer and softer. No edges were harsh. Everything felt rounded by light. A slow wind moved across the dunes. It carried the scent of a warm stone and cool evening air. Iren added another lantern, then another. He placed them along a small path between his resting place and the old sandstone building. Their glow made a line of soft gold across the sand. The blue stone in the item frame shimmered faintly whenever the lantern light touched it. As the light of day slipped away, Iren sat on the stone floor and leaned back on his arms. Tallow lowered himself carefully, folding his legs and resting beside the lantern post. His breathing was slow and deep. The stars began to appear, one by one, small points of white resting in the darkening sky. The moon rose slowly. It looked like a pale disk, soft-edged, calm. Iren warmed a small meal over a gentle heat source he had built from stone and a tiny ember. He placed a pot on top. Water warmed inside it. A few simple grains softened. He ate slowly. He washed the pot and placed it back in the chest. He liked things neat. Before sleeping, he walked once more around the resting place. He checked the lanterns. He smoothed the sand near the water channel. He touched the blue stone lightly. It felt warm. He returned to the bed and sat on the edge. The world felt wide and safe. Morning came softly. Light crept across the sand. It caught the edges of each tiny grain. The lanterns dimmed a little. Their glow no longer needed as much. Tallow woke first. He lifted his head and gave a quiet snort, warm and gentle. Iren stretched slowly. He stepped outside. The seeds had changed. Small green sprouts lifted from the sand beside the water channel. Each one stood straight and calm. The desert accepted them. Iren smiled. He added a few fence posts to guide the small farm area. He placed them with care. He liked things to feel organized. Later that morning, he noticed a faint line in the distance, a straight land of slightly darker sand. He packed lightly. He climbed onto Tallow again. They followed the line. The ground grew firmer. Pale stone came closer to the surface. Small pillars rose in careful intervals. At the end of the line was a shallow opening in the earth, a square cut into the stone, a staircase of carved blocks leading down. The air above it felt cool. Iren lit a lantern and stepped inside. The steps were wide. The walls were smooth. The light from the lantern was brushed across pale stone that looked untouched for a very long time. At the bottom was a large open room. There were chests along the walls. There were item frames. Some held small tools, others held maps. One held a small plant pressed between the glass. In the center was a low table made of polished stone. On it rested a book. The cover was soft leather. Iren opened it. The pages were filled with careful drawings, not words, lines showing desert patterns, drawings of the sky, of dune shapes, of lantern placements, of small, neat homes made of stone. It felt like a guide, or a memory, or both. He sat on the cool floor and read the drawing slowly. Time felt wide. Tallow waited patiently near the entrance of the stairs. He liked the cool air. Iren took one of the small maps and placed it gently into his bag. He placed the book and left it exactly where it belonged. He placed a lantern near the center of the room, a gift of light for the place that already felt peaceful. Back outside, the wind had picked up just a little, just enough to move tiny trails across the sand. They returned to the resting place. The sprouts had grown a little taller. The lantern still glowed. The blue stone had a deeper light now, like it was happy. The day passed slowly. Iren added a small roof over the bed, just enough to give a sense of shelter. He placed each block neatly. The clicks felt like quiet promises. He built a small furnace, stone fitted together, a small hollow space inside. He lit it with a small, soft flame and placed a few pieces of sand inside. Over time, the sand softened and changed, becoming clear glass blocks. He smiled at that. It always felt like a small miracle. He placed the glass blocks as windows in his little shelter. Light moved through them in soft, broken patterns. Tallow wandered nearby and found a cool spot to stand. By evening, the sky had turned honey gold. The lanterns flickered on as the light thinned. The stars warmed into view. Iren cooked a second simple meal. He ate slowly again. This time, he left the door of the shelter open. He liked to see the lanterns and the stars together. The desert felt gentle. The next day brought soft clouds that stretched like quiet thoughts across the sky. The sun filtered through them and made the sand look pale and calm. Iren walked farther than before. He found a small natural arch of stone. The blocks at the base were smooth. Tallow walked through it with careful steps. Beyond the arch was a shallow valley. The ground was firmer there. Pale stone covered large areas. There were patches of clay that looked like painted earth. At the center of the valley stood something special. A tower. Not tall, not grand, but carefully made. Sandstone blocks stacked evenly. The color was warm and soft. A small door stood at the base. Iren opened it. Inside, the walls curved gently upward. There were shelves carved into the stone. On them sat bowls filled with sand of different colors. pale gold, soft pink, calm gray, cool white. A small opening at the top let a slow beam of light enter. Dust caught the light and made it look like it was floating. Iren placed a lantern inside, near the wall. Its glow joined the sunlight. He sat on the stone floor and listened. The tower did not speak, but it felt like it had quiet stories of travelers who rested, of hands that placed each block slowly. He added nothing, he took nothing. He left the tower just as it was. Back at the camp, the plants had grown into soft green rows. The water still flowed quietly. Iren extended the shelter, a little more space, a small wall, a place to hang tools in item frames. He placed the small map he found in the underground room inside a frame. It looked right there. He brushed Tallow's coat. The horse leaned into it, breathing slow and low. The days passed like slow water. Each morning carried a soft wind. Each afternoon warmed gently. Each evening brought lantern light and stars. Iren placed more blocks. He made the space warmer, more settled. He framed a small square of sand in the frame too. It was from near the tower. He liked the memory of its color. One afternoon, a gentle rain passed far off in the distance. It never reached them, just a soft gray line across the horizon. It cooled the air. The desert felt wide and held. One evening, as the sky turned soft violet, Iren and Tallow walked out beyond the lantern path. They walked without any need to go fast. Far away, Iren saw a slight shimmer in the air. He moved closer. It was a patch of sand that looked like glass, clear, smooth, and cool. He touched it. It was solid, transparent, a natural piece of glass made where sand and time had rested together just right. He carefully mined a small piece. The glass lifted cleanly. He took it home. He built a small table of stone. He set the glass block on it. He placed lanterns around it. The light moved through it quietly, lines of gold and pale white shifting inside. He watched it for a long while. Later, he cleaned his tools, placed them back in their frames. He placed more wood in the furnace and warmed the space. Tallow stood near the doorway and watched the stars. On the final night, the sky was a deep, soft blue. The moon was full and pale. Iren lay on his back, in his bed. The lantern light flickered gently on the glass windows. The blue stone glowed softly from the wall. The plants outside whispered in the breeze. Tallow stood just beyond the door, resting. Iren closed his eyes slowly. The desert breathed around him, warm sand, cool air, and steady light. The world felt quiet and complete. The lanterns held their glow. The stars stayed still. Iren drifted into sleep, and the desert stayed peaceful.